Today, on Eviction Wars, Notice of Dispute Resolution Proceeding. This is a hearing, very much like a trial, for Derek to defend his case to remain living in his current residence. Will Derek be kicked out for Christmas?
Welcome to teleconferencing. To join the conference, enter your access code followed by the number sign.
Access code. 101. Just want to make sure I don't make a mistake. Number sign.
You've connected to the Residential Tenancy Branch Dispute Resolution
That's
Hearing
gonna be
System.
fun.
Please be advised, this hearing is a legal proceeding, and the outcome of the hearing is legally binding.
Woo!
Recording of this hearing is prohibited without prior approval from the Residential Tenancy Branch. Witnesses may be permitted to give testimony in the hearing, but are not entitled to stay for the entire hearing. If you are a witness, you can stay on the line, but when the hearing starts, an arbitrator may ask you to disconnect from the call and call back when it is time to hear your testimony.
You have to cut the
If you have not been connected to your hearing within 5 minutes after the scheduled start time, check the details on your notice of hearing document. If the date and time are correct, and if your hearing has not started, hang up and dial it again.
At the tone, please state your name followed by the number sign.
Derek Gerbrandt.
Thank you. The conference has not been initiated. You will be placed on hold until a moderator joins.
La, la, la. I'm gonna put pause on.
Good morning, this is Arbitrator Denninger with the Residential Tenancy Branch. I have a couple people in the hearing here, so I'm just going to do a roll call. Do I have either or both of the tenants on the line?
You have me, the main applicant, Derek Gerbrandt.
Great. Good morning, Derek.
Yeah. He's the other tenant. He's just here listening in the back.
Okay, that's Richard.
That's right.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know. And do I have a representative for the landlord on the line?
Yes.
And you would be?
Victoria Flack.
Great, good morning.
Good morning.
Search, give me a sec here. And that's F-L-A-C-K?
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, so other than Ms. Flack and the two gentlemen, is there anyone else present with either party?
No.
Okay, sounds good. So first question, I guess for both of you, has there been any sort of settlement or resolution of this dispute?
Not that I know of.
No.
Okay. All right, no problem. And just to confirm, Mr. Gerbrandt, you are presently in the rental unit?
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. So I'll just briefly explain how this hearing will work this morning. Notwithstanding that it's conducted by telephone, it is a legal proceeding, and what will result is a final and binding decision that I issue generally within a few days of the hearing. It will follow a certain structure and process, but I'll guide both of you through it. I'm just going to be confirming a couple of preliminary or housekeeping matters, as it were, to begin with. Once we do that, I will then hear from both of you. Given the limited time in which we have to conduct this hearing, which is an hour or slightly less at this point, I realized, Mr. Gerbrandt, that you had applied for a few different things. One was to dispute a notice, a 1-month notice, and then I see that it was amended to dispute the second notice. There's also an application you made for landlord compliance and also for repairs. Given the limited time that we have today, I'm going to likely only be addressing the two 1-month notices. But that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have the right to reapply for those other matters at a later date.
Okay.
And so where a tenant disputes a notice to end tenancy, I will, as a matter of course, hear from the landlord first, because of course it's the landlord that issued the notices. So I will be hearing from Ms. Flack first in just a moment, and then after I hear from the landlord, I hear from the tenant. Once we reach the end of the hearing, I will explain a little bit about what to expect next. So that should do it. I'm just going to confirm a few things with both of you, and then we'll dive right into it. I'm just going to confirm email addresses because my decision will be sent there for Mr. M.ca.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And just to confirm that the legal name of the landlord is Home Life Advantage Realty Limited?
Yes.
Okay, great. Next question, just for the tenants. Have you provided copies of your evidence or your application to the landlord?
Yes.
Okay. And for the landlord, have you provided copies of your evidence to the tenants?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you both. All right, and before I now hear evidence from either of you, I'm just going to briefly affirm both of you because that's required in any legal hearing. Do you, Derek Gerbrandt, solemnly affirm and declare that any evidence given by you is true to the best of your knowledge, information, belief?
Yes.
Thank you. And do you, screen froze. Do you, Victoria Flack, solemnly affirm and declare that any evidence given by you is true to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll just turn now. I note, Ms. Flack, there was a 1-month notice that was issued I believe in the summer, and then there was a subsequent 1-month notice issued at the end of October. Now, the tenants, after they received the second copy or the more recent 1-month notice, they amended their application to dispute that notice as well. So we can look at both notices and you can attempt to prove both of them, or if you wish, you can simply deal with the more recent notice if you wish, and that's the one that we can deal with. Okay. Now, the more recent notice, no, maybe I have my dates wrong. Is the more recent one or the newer one the one that was signed by you on September 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. And just before we go any further, I'll just let both of you know that I have reviewed the evidence on a cursory level, and by that I mean I haven't delved deeply into the details. And the reason for that is, of course, I prefer to hear from the applicants and the respondents in a hearing before I consider in greater detail any of the evidence, but I will be referring to it and considering it after the hearing. Okay, so I'll just turn to then deal with the 1-month notice and tenancy for cause that was signed on September 22nd. And would you be able to confirm, Ms. Flack, when that notice was served on the tenants?
Just give me 1 moment.
Sure.
So it was signed September 22nd. And it was sent via registered mail on September 22nd.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm just going to go through the notice here. A couple of details I wanted to confirm. Now, I note that the landlord's application listed the address as basement in parentheses, followed by lower. Can basement and lower remain in this application as the address?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now turning to page 2 of the notice. And before we get there, I'm just going to confirm this flag that you served all 3 pages of the notice on the tenants.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So the reason we're here, of course, is that the tenants have disputed that notice, and I note on page 2 of the notice, there's 2 boxes ticked. Well, 1 big box, but then the 2 sub boxes events here. Would you be able to tell me in a little bit more detail the reason why this notice is issued and why the landlord seeks to have the tenancy?
The landlord has requested for me to apply for this hearing to move forward with the eviction because the homeowners, the landlords, live upstairs and the tenant is continuously smoking marijuana and cigarettes, and it's causing some health issues for the wife upstairs. And they've asked the tenant to stop, and it has not stopped. And then during the summer, this was before I took over management, the previous landlord or property manager before me noted that the tenant was throwing cigarette butts on the extremely dry grass, causing fire hazard.
And when was this?
Was July 27th.
All right. Now, is this alleged smoking marijuana and cigarettes inside or outside the rental unit?
Inside. And then there was the occasion before I took over that the tenant was smoking cigarettes outside but throwing them on the extremely dry grass.
Is there any prohibition or clause in the tenancy agreement regarding smoking? And I'm only asking because I have to hear it from you and because I'm having problems uploading the tenancy agreement on my computer at the moment.
I have to search for the tenancy agreement.
Okay, I finally have the tenancy agreement open. Do you have it yet?
Yeah, I'm just reading through the addendum. Of 10 out of 16, section 13, any drug-related criminal activity. I'm not sure if that would fall under it because marijuana is legal now.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I note on page 14, as it appears on a PDF document, that there's an addendum B to the residential tenancy agreement. Looks like it's got some logos on the top there. Now it talks about the tenancy agreement smoking is permitted outside.
Which page, sorry?
Well, it's a PDF document the landlord has submitted on a Gerbrandt's tenancy agreement, and it shows up on
I labeled all the pages at the top.
Okay, there's no numbering on this one, but in any event, entirety of the tenancy agreement in any event. In terms of what sort of warnings or notices were given to the tenants?
Mostly verbal warnings from the previous landlord and the homeowners upstairs.
Okay. Any written warnings?
The 1 month notice that was given prior to me.
Is that the one that was given in the summer?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you take over as property manager?
I believe it was the end of August. I have the letter in here somewhere.
That's fine. You can just rock that, just so
Yeah.
I have some awareness.
It was the end of August.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to tell me, Ms. Black, regarding this notice?
The amendment from Mr. Gabrandt, I included that in my evidence on page G1.
Okay.
Trying to find the page.
Is this the amendment that the tenants made after the second notice?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a copy of that. It's on the tenant's file.
So the tenant was telling me that there was a hearing on December 6th, which I was not aware of, and then he finally dropped off an amendment for the set date. And the amendment, all it has is the address. There's no Tennessee branch file number or anything like that. So it wasn't until I filed that I was aware of the date.
And you filed in November, I think, November 1st?
Yes.
Okay, so when you applied as the landlord for an order of possession based on a 1 month notice, you then found out through the application process or through the tenants? That there was
Through the
some
application process, the tenant had told me that there was a hearing on December 6th, but then didn't give me any details. And then on October 28th, he came into the office and dropped off the amendment, which doesn't have any information on it.
Okay. All right, and I'll hear from the tenants in a moment about all of that. Okay. I'm just looking at a few things here before I hear from the tenants. So you received a copy of, there's a document that I'm looking at that's 4 pages long. It's a government form. It says tenant request to amend dispute resolution application. So you received a copy of that, but there wasn't any information in it?
Yeah, I have it in front of me. Date stamped October 28th. The only information on it is I am the tenant or I represent one, where it says Residential Tenancy branch file number. There's no file number. It has the tenant's address. On page 2, there's nothing spelled out. On page 3, just check a 1 month notice to end tenancy for cause. And then further down, I want the landlord to comply with the Act regulations and/or tenancy agreement. And then the very bottom of page 3 out of 4, I want to change dispute participants or dispute information amendment, including form RTB 420.
Okay. Now above that, sorry, go ahead.
It's dated October 22nd with Derek's name but no signature.
Okay. On page 3, above the line that you noted was ticked, I want to change to dispute participants, that line. Above there, there's a shaded blue field. Is there any information within that?
Let's see, mine is black and white. On what date the notice was to end tenancy, July 27th. That's all I'm seeing.
Okay. Okay.
I see that, you mean in the description box?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it here.
This new eviction is essentially identical. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now, when you took over as property manager at the end of August, did the previous person, whoever it was that was fulfilling your role, provide you with any information that they had served the 1 month notice?
That's the only information that I received.
Was the 1 month notice? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Unless there's anything else, I will hear from the tenants then. Okay. Just let me finish up with my notes here, Mr. Gerbrandt, and I'll hear from you. All right. So, Mr. Gerbrandt, before I hear your testimony or your argument regarding the 1 month notice that was served, or both of them, but we'll deal with the latter one. You applied, so you first received a notice, the first 1 month notice in
July.
July, right?
Yep.
July, right? Okay.
27th.
And you filed, got it. And then you filed an application with us on August 3rd, and then we would have issued a notice of dispute hearing to you. It looks like it was sent by email on August 18th.
Yeah.
How and to whom did you serve that notice?
Okay, well, this I served it to Jesse Chima upstairs because, as far as I know, I was following the instructions, and he, as far as I know, was the landlord. That's where there was a bit of a misunderstanding. Later on, Pat told me that this won't hold up in a hearing such as this because I sent it to the wrong person. So I checked and tried to explain my mistake to you guys, and you confirmed it was okay and it would still be acceptable. Pat Robinson, this is the former property manager, continued on after this with numerous threats about a bailiff coming over and that you guys told her that they should evict me, which is not even true.
Okay. And Pat Robinson was replaced, so to speak, by Ms. Flack later in the end of August?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is this Jesse Chima?
He's the homeowner.
Okay.
Him and his wife Suki.
Okay. And you served him with the notice sometime after you got it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, and then I see you did file an amendment document in respect of this second notice, I think. Let me have a look here.
Yeah. While you're looking, just a thing I noted down there about the information. As Victoria stated, there was some missing information. An amendment I've never actually done before, and I was simply following the instructions on there to the best of my knowledge. Also, because this amendment would join into the previous dispute resolution application, that information was included there, so I would have been under the assumption that all of that information had already been given, and it didn't seem to exist in the check boxes that I was to fill out. So that's why some of the information may have been missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your intent when you filed the amendment was to dispute the second notice, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So as to the reason the landlord has issued both notices, but you're right, in your application is an identical one. But as to the reason why the notice was issued, what is your position regarding that?
Well, this has been a topic of discussion amongst, for quite some time. And first of all, it must seem strange to someone even who didn't know anything about this to learn that someone who's lived in this residence for 8.5 years is all of a sudden receiving an eviction notice for smoking. So it makes it seem like, well, what happened? Did these people who are full-grown adults just start smoking overnight, or did the laws just change? Did they, That didn't happen. We've been told to smoke outside since the time we came here. That was the agreement, and we did. You have to think that I can't even imagine how many cigarettes would have been smoked outside, or marijuana, in clear view of these people. Yet, all of a sudden they just get really mad and try to file an eviction notice in the middle of July. Actually, it started in late June. And where this all came from started in late June, say about the 20th or 21st, where I made a request to Home Life Realty about some repairs. A light, some light things that weren't working, like the electrical problems, and a sink that had kind of gotten a little old, let's say, wear and tear. Nothing was done. I never heard nothing from nobody. The only thing, the next time we heard from the homeowners, Jesse, was an argument about a hose, which coincidentally came right during the peak of the heat wave, the big heat wave, the biggest heat wave we've ever had. The other person here was trying to cool off with a hose outside in 40+ degree temperatures, and Jesse came out for no reason, just said he can't use the hose all of a sudden. There were multiple arguments over the course of that heat wave, specifically those 3 days, and the other one was he said the neighbors complained that water was running under their fence. First of all, the neighbors don't even talk to Jesse. They hate Jesse. And when we talked to the neighbors to confirm this, they said that never even happened and Jesse was lying. After this, an argument, and a series of arguments took place between and Jesse. I was not there during most of this, but at the end of it all, some phone call to the police was made. They never showed up. I assume Jesse was upset about this, that his plan to have charge didn't work, so coincidentally, an eviction notice was served about us smoking, which we've done here for 8.5 years. And that's outside. Now, Miss Flack has said that there's smoking inside, and I know that Suki has talked about us smoking. They've come here on a regular basis. And like I said, they've seen smoking pot outside in plain view for years.
I told them about when we moved.
Okay, yeah, no. Anyway, they've seen him smoking. Nothing done. He's following the rules. He's outside where he's supposed to be. Yet we're inside, doing nothing. On 2 occasions, I have video which I've included with you, where we were cooking oysters, and another time I microwaved some steak. Both times, Miss Chima complained about not being able to breathe, having headaches from marijuana smoke, when in fact the smell was meat. I also assume a lot of people from India are vegetarians. She may be unfamiliar with that particular smell, had a psychosomatic response, and a panic attack possibly. I myself have had panic issues in the past. I know all about it, completely understand. And I think this is what's been happening over all this time. She comes down here. Actually, she hasn't come down here ever really since this whole eviction thing, probably on the advice of Home Life to not involve herself with us directly. But over the 8.5 years, at any given time, knocking on the door, erratic knocking, and they'll say, someone smoking the pot, and nobody has ever smoked anything inside the house. All smoking has been done outside in the complete time we've lived here. So that's the main issue here. Those are the details. And I have included those 2 videos, I hope you got them, about her claiming there was pot smoke when in fact it was meat.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can I finish up with my notes here?
Okay.
Okay, unless there's anything else, I think you've been comprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some notes that kind of tie into some other things. You know, if it was a Kyle Rittenhouse trial, I'm sure they'd be necessary, but not for this level of thing. I think I did enough.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
No problem.
All right, and so at this point in the hearing, and I think I missed explaining this at the start of the hearing, but each party also has an opportunity for any brief response to the other side and any final submissions if they wish to make it. So, Ms. Flack, if you have any response to anything was said, you're welcome to do so. You're not required to, and you don't need to tell me anything that you've already told me, but you do have this opportunity to do so if you wish.
Just curious as to the apparent package that was delivered to the Chimas. I never received anything in regards to that to know whether or not there was a hearing.
Okay, well, can I speak?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I guess just outlining for Ms. Flack in a little detail about
All right.
what you did deliver, if you don't mind.
Well, they didn't actually accept the package. He put it outside or left it by the mailbox or something. I guess it stayed there for a while. There was just a bit of confusion. It's kind of funny, I guess, but luckily it was actually received by Pat Robinson, who was still, I guess, at the end of her term there. It was right in late August, I believe. She came to my house. I have video of this because I happen to have a video camera. I wanted video evidence. She came to my door and was saying about the bailiff coming or something about the bailiff. And I noticed we didn't really get into discussion about it, but she did have the package in her hand. She had called me numerous times about where the package was, telling me the package won't work. It's completely, unofficial. Yet she was going to take the package, and she did have it in hand and left with it in hand. So the last time I saw the package was in the possession of former property manager Pat Robinson. So as far as I'm concerned, she had all the responsibility to give that to Miss Flack.
Okay.
Do you happen to know if there is a proof of service to provide proof that that was served to the Chimas or to Pat Robinson?
Proof of service. Like I said, I have video of that, but I mean, we could.
You can't really tell through a video what she's holding, right?
Well, she said she had it in the video. She said that she had it. There's a.
Okay, I think that's probably all we'll be able to ascertain, Ms. Flack, and at this, I'll obviously have to consider service issues in my decision. So.
Nonetheless, like I said, in terms of like the smoking, as we all know, I mean, this is we've been here that long, and it just so happens they come up with this idea, and she has a medical note that says she is having problems breathing, whatever. We have video footage of her saying she has problems breathing and coming to terms. You should have that video. Have you seen that video? I said it in the Second Amendment to this application.
I'll have to look through it after the hearing.
Okay, it's there. And in the one video is actually a phone call where she says, that's the steak one, where she says she's having a headache. The other video included in there is Miss Chima saying she can't breathe while she talks to me, and then confirms when we tell her it's oysters, and then she seems to understand that it isn't marijuana smoke. And that same issue is what is the whole premise, basically the whole thing about this case, the smoking outside. Like I said, that we've done here for 8.5 years, right? So, and just a little side note on the character of Miss Flack here. I just want to say that she took over here.
I won't hear any testimony. Okay, let me just look at my notes here, see if I have any other questions. Okay, I don't have any further questions. So, in terms of what's going to happen next is I do review any evidence that each side has submitted regarding this matter. I will review all of that, and I will review also all of my notes of your testimonies. And then I will issue a decision regarding this dispute. My decision will contain both the tenant's application and the landlord's application are dealt with in one decision. And then that will probably take me a couple days to do, and then that will be sent out by email. We seem to be a few days behind on getting decisions out, so both of you may not receive something till later in the week, but just keep an eye on your emails, and that should do it. Once you receive a copy of the decision, look through it. If there are any corrections to the decision, by that I mean if there's any errors in terms of how I've quoted you or cited evidence, you can make those requests to correct it. You can also apply for what's called a clarification, where I simply may not have explained something clearly or fulsomely to you. That can be done online. The unsuccessful party has the right to apply for what is called a review. An application for review is basically like an appeal of the decision. That can be done online. And last but not least, any party to these sorts of disputes can apply for what is called judicial review, and that is where you would apply to this BC Supreme Court to have my decision reviewed. So those options are all available to you. Do either of you have any questions of me before we end this hearing?
No.
No, I guess not. Seems fair.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gerbrandt and Mr. in the background and Ms. Flack for your time this morning. I do appreciate it.
Okay.
And I'll let you get on with your day, and then I will have a decision out as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Next week, on Eviction Wars, we find out the decision on the hearing. Will Derek get to stay home for Christmas? Find out next week.
Please, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Just go. I'm sorry.